Hello there, I'm Mikey K. Now recently, I've been doing a lot of lyric writing, and I don't know if you've ever tried to write song lyrics before, but it's surprisingly hard. Like shockingly so, like almost doesn't make sense how hard it is. And so I put together this little video here with just 5 reasons why writing a song happens to be so very hard. Check it out. The first reason why writing song lyrics is so hard is that it's incredibly easy to be cheesy. And what I mean by this is that when you kind of step back and you look at what you've written, almost everything you write sounds kind of cheesy. Think about writing the lyric like something like, I miss you more than a flower misses the sunlight. What? That's awful. That's an awful lyric. It's terrible. Or I actually wrote this. This is something I actually wrote. Another night, feeling not quite right, swiping, just swiping, looking for love in the digital space. That is awful. That was rejected so quickly. I typed it out and then immediately went, no, I can't believe I just wrote that. I think the reason that song lyrics come off as cheesy is because we're trying to convey some kind of emotion. If you're writing in an emotive state and then you come back later not in that same state, you're probably gonna judge what was written kind of unfavorably. So maybe you're writing about love, and as you're writing these lyrics, you're thinking back to a time in your life when you had a great love. And as you write, you're supercharged and you're feeling hyped up on these emotions. And a day or two goes by, you go back and look at what you've written, and you're no longer in that emotive state. You're now just looking for analysis, or you're just analyzing your lyrics, trying to say, hey, is this good enough? Have I written something of a quality high enough? So the second reason that it's hard to write song lyrics is that it's just really easy to be boring or to come off as cliche. And so think about how many love songs have been written, right? Like if you're gonna write a love song, well, how on earth are you gonna come across with something that everyone hasn't already heard before, right? Or think about a song about making it, right? Like there's a lot of songs about success at this point. You know, it might be a little bit difficult to come off as not boring. You know, think about something like rekindling an old flame, which for anyone who's experienced that would be very, very interesting. But think about the lyrics that are going to come together as you tell that story, right? Like maybe an old love popped into a singer's head one day and they couldn't stop thinking about that person. Then randomly they got in touch with each other and ultimately decided to meet up, flew across the country or drove a long way, and then they either get together or they don't. And that's the story. And it's like, well, again, if you've lived that, really exciting. But if you're just telling that story in lyric format, well, it's pretty predictable actually, and it's kind of boring. Now, I do think that the solution to boringness is, well, let's talk about the problem maybe first here. The problem is that things are boring because people have already heard them before. They know it. They know it's a love story, right? Snore. If it's a story of rekindling love, okay, well, we understand how this is going to go one way or another. Snore. It gets boring, right? I think the solution to that problem, to that predictability, to the lack of interest, is to find a unique way to come after things. And so rather than just writing about a simple love story, think about it in terms of maybe the good parts and bad parts about love. There's a band called Him out of, I believe it was Finland, where they were from, one of the Scandinavian countries. And I think every song they wrote was about love. And a lot of the songs came at love in kind of a darker matter, right? And it kept the content fresh. So that's definitely one way to go about it. I'm sure there's other ways to solve the problem. Here's reason 3. It's difficult to get just the right amount of poetry into your lyrics without going too far. Now, here's what I mean by this. We don't want to just write in a strictly kind of conversational tone, which I would describe as, you know, if I'm telling someone how my day went, you know, I'm going to be like, well, you know, I woke up, I got a bunch of stuff done, I worked on music, that was fun, I went to the gym, that was my day. You know, and in this example, I'm just talking conversationally, just in a normal way, just like I am with you right now. I'm not taking the time to add in imagery into what I'm saying. So I'm not talking about, well, I woke up and I noticed, first thing, how beautiful the sun was as it glistened on the water. Now, right? Because I don't really talk that way, and I'm sure most people don't talk that way. So when you start writing lyrics, or when you go to write lyrics, of course, we're going to add a degree of imagery into what we do, because we want people to connect emotionally and to almost get them to feel things more than we want to just tell them what's happening, right? Like a song that goes, "I was standing by the water." Well, okay, that's great, but we can do better. The sun glimmered off the surface while the waves crashed and roared all around us. In a lyric form, that's just a much better way of going about it. The problem is, when you start to add imagery into your lyrics, it's easy to take it way, way, way too far. I think most of us read Shakespeare at some point when we were in school, and think about how you have to step back and honestly have another resource in this particular case, just to understand what Shakespeare was writing, what the lines meant. You really don't want people to do that with songs, I don't think, not for the most part anyway. You want them to go through it line by line, yes. You want them to connect with your lyrics, yes, but you don't want them to have to decipher them, I think, most of the time. I'm not convinced that that's the most powerful way to write music, and maybe you disagree, and feel free to let me know if you do, but for me, I'd rather keep song lyrics on the more understandable point than not. And that's why having that exact right balance of imagery versus clarity, I think is a little bit tricky to hit. Number 4 is also something that's dogging me right now, which is that it's very difficult, I think, to know when you've written something that's actually good. And it's because the parameter for success is just unclear, I think, a lot of the time. I think ultimately, if the listener connects with it and you're saying what you meant to say, then that's probably the barometer you need. But especially when you're new to writing lyrics, well, you don't have listeners. So the bottom line is, I don't know. It's just hard to know when things are good. And I can only imagine that this is something that gets fixed with experience over time. And maybe by the time you get your 100th or 300th song written, you start to have a pretty good idea of what's going to work and what isn't, especially if your songs are making it out to market. So the last reason, the 5th reason why writing song lyrics is tricky, is that it's difficult to get the rhyme scheme just right. Ultimately, I think when it comes to songs, or when it comes to lyrics, you want the song to have a certain sense of flow. Something that might kind of get jotted down or maybe sounds good in your head, as soon as you maybe start to put a melody to it of some kind, sometimes it can just not sound as ideal. Okay, so there are 5 reasons why writing song lyrics is hard. And you may be wondering, well, why am I talking about this stuff? Well, recently I set a goal for myself, which is to write a hit song. Well, create a hit song. And that means writing the lyrics, singing on it, doing the production, doing the mixing and mastering. And the problem with this is that despite having spent a lot of time in music in my lifetime, I didn't have the skill set available to do this. And so I've been diving back in and trying to skill up, and I'm making these videos talking about my journey and how things are going. So I just want to add a couple of things, just in case anyone else is writing lyrics themselves. I got a couple of things that are really working out well for me. One is just spending time with it. And it seems almost really obvious, but there's this great book by an author named Steven Pressfield. It's called The War of Art. And in it, he talks about how we have this kind of inner resistance. Steven Pressfield is quite a successful author, and he talks about how when he goes to write, he spends 4 hours every single day just writing. Doesn't matter. It's not about whether he has writer's block or doesn't have writer's block or whether he feels like it. I'm sure he takes days off, but the point is to just get up, be like a professional, and just spend time with it. And the other thing that's been helping me out a lot is to try to look to resources beyond myself and to people who have done this successfully. Now, obviously, in whatever genre of music that you're writing, there's a plethora of examples that you can look up online, quickly find the lyrics to, and take a look at them. But beyond that, I did take a lyric writing course a few years ago, and that was very helpful. And lately I've been going through, I'm just going to reach over, this book right here, which has been just an excellent resource. A lot of the things that I've kind of talked about in this video are specifically addressed in that book. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I think the best piece of advice anyone could give to a beginner like myself, possibly like person listening, just stick with it. Stick with it. Try to get better at what you do. It'll come with time. I mean, I hope. I mean, better. Otherwise, I'm just wasting all my time. And I could like go be doing much more useful. We won't worry about that. You know, you got to have some faith. Got to have a little faith. Anyway, that's the vid. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. And, you know, have yourself a great day. Oh, you know, maybe if you were interested in following me along on this journey and maybe, just for a few more videos, just, staying up to date with kind of what's going on with me. And as I start to put out my own music and whatnot, maybe toss a little subscribe my way so you get those updates. Just maybe, the channels, just a little subscription to the channel. That would be great. I'd appreciate it. Thanks. Have a good day.